get it in. Does to Smith. Jabari for three and the win. Yeah! He got it!
We are here to Field Rockets News. This is the Rockets Field Podcast. Of course, I am your host, Lachard Binkley. You can always find me on Twitter at Binkley Hoops. And you can find my written work over at the Dream Shaker SB Nation. And of course, this is Happy Sports Houston Sunday, as the Rockets were able to come away with 112-108 victory. And of course, the Texans were able to pull out a 23-19 victory in Indianapolis that guaranteed them a playoff spot. And it kind of just comes down to whether the Jaguars win tonight or today, on whether they start off on the road or at home. But either way, the Texans are in the playoffs, something nobody saw coming at the beginning of the year. So shout out to CJ and D'Amico and all the guys over at the Texans. That's a huge accomplishment, and definitely was a great cap to cap off the last night for both teams, as the Rockets and Texans were able to pull out victories. But on today's show, we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets. Also had a huge victory last night. They were able to knock off one of the best teams in the league, the Milwaukee Bucks, 112-108, a day after they got demolished by the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have the best record in the Western Conference. And to be able to come back the following night, back-to-back, playing the second best team in the Eastern Conference without two of your better defenders, Tari Eason and Dylan Brooks, and able to pull off that victory, that's a huge accomplishment for the Rockets, as they were able to end their 7-game homestand on a winning note, as they get ready to now head out in a very their longest road trip of the season, 6 games. The Rockets won't be back at home until January 20th when they take on the Utah Jazz. So this is a huge 6-game road trip coming up. As we know, the Rockets have struggled on the road this season. They're only 3-10 so far on the season on the road. So this would be a huge test for them as they try to navigate through this road trip, which will seem like it will be without Dylan Brooks for the most part, and Tari Eason at this point is day to day. As it really comes down to how much he can tolerate the pain that he has to deal with before each game. So we'll see if he's able to get in any of these games on a road trip. And Miami Heat are one of the better teams in the league, but they've been playing without Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy Butler of Tom Ball, by the way, not Houston. We'll see if he will be playing on Monday. But let's get into this last game where the Rockets, again, were able to pull out that 112-108 victory. Again, the leading scorer for the Rockets was Alperen Sengun, of course, as he's the leading scorer most nights for the Rockets. He struggled a little bit from the field because Milwaukee was running a lot of different defensive schemes against him. They were running double team, different players. But again, he was still able to make the plays down the stretch. He was still able to be able to score on the offensive end enough to help the Rockets pull out this victory. Again, he was the leading scorer for the Rockets, but he wasn't the only player. The Rockets actually had everybody that played for the Rockets was in double digits except for 2 players. So it was a collective team effort last night. They had 3 players off the bench scoring double digits, something has only happened twice this season. So that was huge. Jeff Green was a big reason why the Rockets were able to pull out this victory, as he had a huge third quarter where he had a couple of threes, a driving layup past Lopez that pretty much played Lopez out of most of the third quarter and some of the fourth quarter because he cannot guard Jeff Green. Jeff Green was spreading the court. He was taking him to the basket. Well, Jeff Green was a big reason why Rockets were able to hold off the Bucks, because the Rockets were leading by double digits most of the game. But in that second half, it seemed like Giannis just took it upon himself just to go to the basket every single time, and he got to the free throw line a lot last night. He ended up with 48 points, went to the free throw line 21 times, and he was a big reason why the Bucks were able to get back into the game and make it as close as it was. As the Bucks scored over 30 points in the last 2 quarters, but the Rockets still had one of their better defensive halves of the season in the first half, where they were able to hold a 20-point lead in the first half. But again, the Bucks were able to slowly cut down that lead with Giannis continues to go into the basket. But at the end of the day, that's exactly what the Rockets wanted. They had the same defense scheme they had against Jokic, where they would let Jokic kind of get what he wants on the offensive end, but they would limit all the other players, and that's something the Rockets did again with Giannis last night, as they were able to limit players like Chris Middleton and Damian Lillard, and they were able to kind of just funnel everything and let Giannis kind of score his points without giving up the wide open threes that are really backbreakers, especially when the team is trying to come back and make it a game, which the Bucks were trying to do last night. So again, Jeff Green had a big game. Cam Whitmore continues to come off the bench and is almost a points per play type of player at this point. he had another great offensive game where he finished 4 for 6. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show, where I asked Cam about his impact off the bench and limited minutes, and he gave a really interesting answer. I think something that Ime and the coaching staff will love to hear. So definitely stick around to the end to hear that. But again, they had a huge contribution off the bench. Jeff Green, Cam Whitmore, and Aaron Holiday, who continues his strong play throughout this season, all finished with double digits, something that the Rockets haven't really seen that much throughout the season. But the bench has gotten a lot better as this season has progressed and it's become one of the strong points of this team. So they were definitely a big reason why the Rockets were able to pull off this victory. 4 of the 5 starters were in double digits, except for Jay Sean Tate, who briefly left and went to the locker room and also was in foul trouble. So he only finished with 4 points. But 4 out of 5 starters were in double digits, which was a big reason why the Rockets were able to pull off this victory. And of course, the biggest play of the game was under a minute left. Milwaukee was coming up fast on the Rockets, trying to get back in the game, and Alperen Sengun spin baseline and somehow was able to find Jabari Smith on the opposite side of the end by the Rockets bench. And with a great pass, they ended up giving them a open three, and Jabari hit that three, and that was the biggest play of the game as the Rockets were able to pull away after that point where it became a free throw shooting contest. And then maybe one of the reasons why the game lasted almost 3 hours. But I don't think the Rockets mind when they come away with a victory, no matter how long the game lasts. But that was the biggest play of the game. And Jabari even said after the game himself that he didn't know how Alperen even saw him. But that's just some of the things that Alperen is doing on a game in, game out basis to where it's not even a surprise when he makes passes like that. And that's the thing about Alperen. It's not just his scoring, but it's also his passing. That is a huge reason why he's taking the next step this year. And that's something also that Ime mentioned post game was that, yeah, teams may try to double team Alperen, but the thing about it is that he will always make the right play. And that's why it doesn't really matter if he's being double teamed or not, if he's scoring or not, because he can make other plays on the court that will help the team. Unlike some players that, hey, they may be great scorers, but if you double team, you can take them out of the game. That's not the case for Sengun, as you saw with that great pass to Jabari in the corner that kind of sealed the game for the Rockets. A couple of other things I want to go over is the relationship between Ime and Alperen. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why the Rockets have went from a laughing stock of the league to possible playoff team is because that relationship started in the offseason. That's something that Ime and Alperen talked about. But this is what Ime said pregame about the first time that he talked with Alperen Sengun this offseason.
Conversation was really, he wants to be coached, and Coach Hart said, in his words, coach European style, and he acted like he got coached over there when he barely played with a top tier team for his first 3 years or whatever. So that was his words, and I met his father yesterday for the first time, and they love me because I coach him like he raised them, and so that's what I'm gonna do. That's who I am.
As you can see there, their relationship started this off season, and the fact that Ime was smiling a couple of times. That's something you rarely ever see from Ime Udoka. So that's something that's very interesting to see because he's a really straightforward type of coach. He doesn't smile a lot. You can't even tell when he's joking or not. He's all about business. He's all about getting the best from his team. So to see him smile, it definitely shows how much confidence that he has and how proud he is of Alperen Sengun and the steps he's taken this season. So that's definitely something that was really interesting pregame to hear him how he spoke with his father and that his father and his family loved him because he coaches the exact same way that he was raised, which is the straightforward, no nonsense. Hey, it's not about just doing your best; it's about being the best, and that's something that Alperen's family appreciate, and that's something that Alperen is that talked about preseason about wanting to be Coach Hard, and that's something that we didn't see in the previous 2 seasons for many reasons from Coach Silas that we've went over 1,000 times before, so we don't need to really go over right now. So to see Ime and Alperen's relationship, that's one of the biggest reasons why the Rockets are in the playoff hunt right now instead of being a bottom tier team they've been the previous 3 seasons. I asked Alperen about that meeting between his father and Ime after the game, and this was his response. the way that you were raised. What has the relationship with Ime meant for you, and how has that helped you take your game to the next level?
Yeah, my family loves him, especially my dad. Like how I can't say about it. My dad is crazy about me. Like whatever I do, if I'm playing bad, like he's on my ass, and like if I'm playing good, he's like happiest man in the world, like and he loved Ime because Ime like make me really good this year, He helped me a lot, like he make me a better player, and my dad is.
As you can see, Alperen and Ime are on the same page. It was just really great to see Alperen talking about the impact his father has had on his career. Impact his family has had on him, and the fact that his father watches every single game. Something else he mentioned later on in that interview, and the fact that he wants Ime to be hard on him. And Ime will be hard on him. Even when Alperen is doing everything perfect, you can still see Ime say, well, he could have also did this. He's never satisfied. And that's how you take that next step from being a really good player to a star level player to one day a superstar level player. And that's something that Ime is trying to get across to all the players, but especially Alperen, who has become the Rockets' best player. So to hear Alperen's family, how much they love what Coach Ime has done for him, the fact that Alperen recognizes that he has made him a much better player. That is the number one. That relationship is number one reason why the Rockets have a chance to actually make the playoffs, and it's one of the biggest reasons why Alperen Sengun can possibly be an All-Star this season. Is that relationship between him and Ime that has formed starting in the off season and has carried on throughout the season. One more thing I wanted to talk about before I wrap up this show is something I mentioned earlier is Cam Whitmore and the fact that he coming into the game, he was top 20 in points per play, which pretty much means every time he has the ball, he is scoring more than likely. He was 4-6 last night. He scored another 11 points in limited minutes. It's something been amazing to watch since he's been getting playing time with Tari Eason and Dylan Brooks out. And I asked him about that after the game. He gave a really interesting answer, something I wasn't expecting, something I think that Coach Ime and his coaching staff will absolutely love to hear from him, something I'm sure that they have drilled into him from day one. So here was his answer to my question about his mentality coming into the game, knowing he's only going to play a limited amount of minutes.
Yeah, like 10 or 15 minutes a game.
I mean, my first impact is, defense. That's what the coach wants, everybody else wants. So take care of itself in the offense and just translate. So I'll find my shots. I'll take my good shots, but at the end of the day, just starts on the other end.
Is that something?
The fact that Cam is all about defense, that is a huge step forward for him in his progression because we all know he can score. He's one of the, already one of the best young scorers in the league because he's a more than capable outside shooter. And when he gets downhill, especially on fast breaks, nobody's stopping him. They either got to foul him or he's going to get a basket. As we have seen pretty much throughout the season, like I said, he's ranking right up there with the players like Joel Embiid, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, uh, Kevin Durant, LeBron James. When it comes to points per play, like I said, he's top 20, and he's probably even better now after last night's game. So the fact that he's focused on defense, number one, that's all he wants to talk about. That his defense leads the offense, not the other way around. That's exactly something Ime has talked about all season long. At the Rockets, first and foremost, are a defensive team, and their offense comes from their defense. So the fact that Ime has drilled that into Cam to the point where it's just automatic. That's what he talks about. The first thing he talks about is not his offense, his defense. I think that's going to go a long way to possibly him getting minutes, even when Dylan Brooks and Tari Eason get back, because at some point, if Cam continues to play the way he's playing, it's going to be hard to keep him on the bench, regardless of who's in the lineup. You need that type of player that's aggressive, that doesn't hesitate, that has a mindset that he's going to score no matter who's on him. And if he continues to evolve beyond just being just a scorer and also being a defender and also being in the right spots and also not making the mistakes that, drives Ime crazy, not just from Cam, but from anybody. If he continue to do those things, I just don't see any way they can keep him off the bench. He may not be playing 20 minutes a game, but if he can still get the 10 or 15 minutes a game, he can make a huge impact on this team. And that's something that you're going to need, especially going out throughout the season and maybe eventually into the playoffs, because we know once you get in the playoffs, it's about, can you play really good defense and can you get baskets against really good defense that's that's ready to play against you, that scouted you. You got to have players that can make their own plays, that can get their own basket, that doesn't necessarily need plays ran for him. And Cam Whitmore is absolutely that type of player. So to hear him talk about, hey, he's focused on the defensive end, that's a huge thing for Cam Whitmore. And I think that's going to help him throughout the rest of the season. We definitely want to let everybody know we appreciate the support. The channel is growing really fast. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, because that helps, of course, with the YouTube algorithm. We're already at 1,300 subscribers, which is huge considering we only started 6-7 months ago. And definitely in the comments, let me know. The Rockets coming up on a huge 6-game road trip. They start on Monday with Miami. What do you think their record is going to be after that 6-game road trip? Do you think they can go 500, maybe 3-3? They're only 3-10 on the season on the road, as they've struggled throughout this season when it comes to road games. So what do you think their record is going to be after that 6th game? And what's kind of been your biggest surprise of the season so far? Is it Alperen Sengun? Is it Cam Whitmore playing really well? Is it the player Jeff Green, who played over 30 minutes last game? That's only the 3rd time in his 2 seasons he's played over 30 minutes. What's been your biggest surprise, or it can be biggest disappointment? Leave us a comment down below, because we also appreciate the comments. I read every single comment. So definitely thank you for those, and make sure you check out the next episode of Rockets Fuel Podcast.